What's up, guys? Four-wheeler doctor back again. Another funny shirt. If you just watched my other video, same shirt. I hadn't changed clothes. It's like the battery's about dead on this thing, but hopefully it'll last for a little bit. All right, guys. Today we're working on another Rancher 350. This is a 2004 model. All right, guys. The camera cut off. Battery went dead, so I don't know where I started off, but I'll see if I can merge these together. We're going to be putting an aftermarket carburetor in this 350 Rancher, so it is a lot cheaper than the factory ones, and I've had pretty good luck with the thing. So I'm gonna kind of show how to pull this thing apart. Only difference between this bike and yours is this thing does have a snorkel on it. You can see right along here, very similar to what you'd still run into, but just like one more step to get this carburetor out. So to start off with, what we're going to have to do, we're going to try to get this air box out. We're going to remove this clamp that's right here on the back side of the carburetor, and in your case you'll have a snorkel, factory snorkel, that runs up through this hole here, so you don't want to remove that clamp there as well to get it off. So I'm gonna end up having to unbolt it up here at a coupler and then slide all this out. So let me get all that pulled out. The only other thing, some bikes have these still on them and some bikes don't. There is a 10mm headed bolt right there that you can see at the end of my light. You normally have to remove that and pull that bracket out this way to get the to get the air box loose. Sometimes they'll have that bolt in there, sometimes they won't. Or that's actually a nut, I'm sorry. So remove that and your air box should come out of there. So let's get it out of the way and I'll cut the camera back on in a sec. All right, folks, I forgot one more thing. You got to pull this crankcase vent off. It's just got a little clamp on it that you can actually squeeze together with your fingers and slide that boot off to get that air box out. All right, guys, now we got the air box out of the way. I'm going to pull a few things off here. First thing you want to do once you get this far is cut your fuel off on your petcock there. Hopefully this petcock works and it's not going to pour fuel all out when I pull the line off. It will pour just a little bit out, but if it keeps coming out, then shove your bolt or something in there so it don't drain your whole tank out. So we'll move that fuel line out of the way, and we got a clamp on the front of the air box here. You actually can access it from the passenger side. I'll show you a shot of it. The Phillips head screw is right there. Spin that thing off. And while we're over here, we need to get the carburetor heater off. Take this side cover off here and these two push pins. Pop this one out, pop this top one out, and we'll unplug that wire. Man, that one's got a actually got a bolt in there. See if I can do it without taking that bolt out. So the wire we're looking for, the one that goes into the bottom of the carburetor, is the first plug here on that bank of plugs. I'm not really sure if I'm gonna be able to get a screwdriver up in there. Might be able to stick my hand in there. No, I can't get it. I'm gonna have to take that bolt out, swing that out. But you see the sensor, or the plug there is what you got to take off. So let me get it off. I'll cut the camera back on in just a sec. All right, guys, got the hose unhooked over there. Now what you do is you can just take and push down on this carburetor and it'll pull it out of that front boot just like that. And first thing we're going to take off once we get it like this is this Phillips head screw on the right side of the four-wheeler. This is the one that covers the throttle cable. So back that screw out and trying to remove that black cover right there that covers the throttle cable, just like that. In order to get this throttle cable off, you can advance that linkage with your finger and pull that barrel and that cable out at the same time. And then I believe this is a 10mm. I just use a adjustable just because it fits both this and the choke. So we'll back that throttle cable out, just unscrew it, break it loose with the wrench and unscrew it the rest of the way with your fingers. There we go, and it slides out that little slot. Spin it around to the the other side of the carburetor, let me unplug this vent line here. Your vent line will normally be just routed up right here behind your fuel tank. In this case, these vent lines are run up to the front so that the snorkel works. So you need to take your adjustable, I think this is a 12 millimeter, and remove this plastic, I'm gonna call it a nut, at where the choke goes in. Break it loose with your adjustable and then spin it the rest of the way with your finger, and when you get it loose, the choke plunger and everything will come out at one time. Hopefully it all comes out. This one does work, I'm pretty sure. I have taken these apart before, and that plunger will be stuck in the carburetor, just from water getting in it and stuff like that. And sometimes they can be tough to get pried out of there and not break. So this one slides right out, and then that's it. There's your carburetor out. So with this, like I said before, we've got a aftermarket carburetor we're going to be putting in, and really the only issue I've ever had with these things, and that sounds kind of weird, is having the wrong jet in them. So what I like to do to just keep from having to take this thing back apart is pull this bowl off this thing and make sure that the jet in here matches the jet that came out of the factory one. So pull the bowl off and check. I may set it over on the bench and show you how to do it, just to maybe save you from taking it off again. But let me do that. I'll cut the camera back on in a sec. All right, guys, here we go. I got went ahead and loosened all the bolts up on this thing, well, with the exception of one. The easiest way I found to get these off is with a good bit and the impact driver. If you don't have an impact driver, I'd recommend maybe trying to catch the head of this thing with a vice grip and just break it loose. Then you can back it out with a screwdriver, because these things strip out pretty easy, especially if you don't have an impact driver like that and a good bit. The good bit's key. So I've got the original carburetor bolts out, and the aftermarket one also got the bolts out of it. Well, didn't run that one all the way out, so there we go. Got it all the way out, and as you would expect, that one's very clean, nothing in there. The aftermarket one, or the factory one, it don't look too bad. The problem here is these what they call the seat, the brass part down here below your float. Sometimes they just get trash in them, but a lot of times they'll just, I don't know, get to where they don't seal up, and that's what makes it leak out of your overflow tube coming here out the bottom of your carburetor. So there's really no way to fix it on these things. There were some people that were selling these brass inserts that will go in there, and you could replace them. They're just not a real easy way to get it out and get it back in there. I've done it before, but it's tough. So replacing the carburetor is about your only option at that point. And that's like I say, if it's just leaking out of the bottom of the bowl, if it's not running right, most of the time you can clean these things and get them back right. So the biggest thing here is to check your hole in your carburetor to make sure they're very close to the same size, and these are. Just actually looking at them with my eye, I can tell it's close enough. I've had them before that it looked like a mechanical pencil lead would go through one, and then a wood pencil lead would go through the other. Like huge differences in sizes is what I normally see on these. It's not normally a very a small amount. And I will say, with buying this thing, you know, there's a lot of different manufacturers, the different ones you see on eBay and all that for aftermarket ones. I don't try to buy the cheapest one, because you can have obvious problems with it. But get about middle of the road, or I will look on there and see how many they've actually sold. So eBay will list out how many units the people have sold, and if it's a good number of them, or a big number, then that's normally who I go with. You know, looking at somebody that sold 100 or 150 of these things and they still don't get bad reviews, that's probably a pretty decent carburetor. And actually, I just put one on the other day for a guy that had purchased it from the Honda dealership, and it was an aftermarket carburetor that he purchased from there, and the thing was like $120 which is outrageous, considering you can buy one like this for, I don't know, probably half that. But yeah, and as far as the quality goes, I mean, just from me looking at it, it looked like it was about the same setup as this one. So we're going to stick this thing back together. I did check both the main jet and the idle jet. Both of those look very, very close to being the same size, so the same as the original carburetor. So we should be good in this case. So we're going to tighten this one back up, put the original one back together, and we'll get ready to stick this thing back on. I'll cut the camera back on in just a sec. All right, guys, we're going to try to stick this thing back together. I am going to change this choke plunger, I guess we'll call that. I've had those different as well from the factory ones. So grab a pair of needle nose pliers and you can pull that plunger out of there. You see this one's all brass, where the other one was it may be all brass too, but it's got some type of coating on it. So the issue I've had, these tubes here been different lengths, so we're going to take this all the way apart here and replace it with the stuff that came with the aftermarket carb. Really, to do this, all you really need is a screwdriver. Pry down on your spring that's in there, and make sure you keep your hand over it, because it will fly off. The new carburetor came with another spring, but still, it wouldn't ever hurt to have a spare one if you needed it. So stick that in there. Then you just take and pull this whole end off, just like that. Put your new one back on. Everything just slides here together. Push it way up in there. And then you wind up with your spring and your barrel connector on your cable sticking out just a little bit. If you turn that plunger sideways as you get it into the barrel connector there, it will normally line right up. My barrel's not going all the way into my plunger. There it goes. I think it's in there now. All right, so now you're ready to just screw this back together, and we're just going to do this in the reverse of taking it off. The choke, we're going to put that in first. Get all the vent lines and all that mess down here. Choke just slides right in like that. Start it with your fingers. Try not to cross thread that thing, because you're dealing with you got plastic threads going into aluminum threads, and you know who will win that battle. So run it in with your fingers, and I normally just snug these down tight with my adjustable. Once we get it on there, there we go, that's tightened up. Snug it down with the adjustable like that. All right, flip it over. Now we got to do our throttle cable. Slide it back in the hole and go ahead and run that screw in all the way till that there's a jam nut on there, till that jam nut hits. We'll run it all the way down in there. Hit it with the adjustable when it tightens up. Hit the jam nut is really all you need to tighten up there. So cinch down on the jam nut, and then take it again and advance that the butterfly with your finger. Stick your barrel through that hole there, and then let your cable go. This carburetor did come with another cover for the side, plastic cover, so we'll replace it. It did come with another screw, but I like using the factory screw because this one of these has got the washer that's stuck on it, and that's a little easier to bolt up. So stick that back in there like that, and then stick your screw in there. Hopefully I can get the screw to go in there. Pretty sure we got the same thread pattern on there, but we may not. Yes, it is. So that screws down on there. All right, now take this whole carburetor. We'll hook the fuel line up in just a second, and just press from the back side up into that boot that goes into the head of the motor. Wiggle it around a little bit, Fits right in there just like that. It came with a new vent line, so we need to run it up here to the front and usually tie it into the back of the gas tank there, but in this case with the snorkel on it, we've got to find that wire or that line that was ran up to the front and tie it to it. So I'll do that in a minute. Our fuel line has a cover over the end of it, so our inlet. So let me pull that cover off, little rubber cap, and this thing was leaking pretty bad, so I stuck a bolt in it. Get the bolt out of there, stick it back on here. It has a spring-loaded clamp, so it seals up on there. All right, go over here to the other side. We need to hook up that hook up the carburetor heater. Go ahead and tighten your bolt up on your clamp, and all right guys, we're going to stick the air box back in there now. Don't forget that vent tube. You can cause a lot of issues with that if you don't hook it back up. Hook your snorkel back up. In my case, I'm gonna have to hook this snorkel back up, put some more silicone on it and tighten it back in there, and then we're gonna try to crank this thing. I'll go ahead and get all this stuff tied together and cut the camera back on, and we'll see how it cranks up, or if it cranks up, but keep your fingers crossed. All right guys, got everything hooked back up. Make sure you tighten your clamps down here on your intake and your snorkel, factory snorkel, your bolt down there at the bottom to hold the bottom of your airbox in, and cut the gas back on. We're going to see if this thing will crank up without the choke on it. That's one thing, I may have to idle it up some too, so let me see what it'll do. Give it a little choke. Yeah, it's going to need to idle up. So in order to idle this thing up, it's over here on the passenger side. There is a knob, plastic knob in here. You can reach in and turn it. I'm going to crank this thing in a little ways. It's probably going to be idle too high now, but we can back it off a lot easier. There you go. Sounds pretty good. Biggest thing on these, if they will idle, and then like that main jet problem, it won't take the gas when you give it some gas. It seems to do both of that. Both of those. I'm gonna probably end up adjusting the valves on this thing because you could hear it ticking pretty bad. So I may go ahead and do that too, just to help the owner out, because I know this thing gets ridden pretty tough sometimes. So I think that's it on the carburetor install. See how easy it is. I feel a lot of people probably go through this same thing. So hope you like the video. Hit the like button, subscribe. Have a good day.